Hello everybody and welcome back to the Crooked Hour. This weekend we had Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva, and after the fight Jake Paul called out Nate Diaz and Canelo. Looks like it's all heading in the way of Nate Diaz though, and I'm not interested in that fight. I don't know where the interest comes from. Now, you're a Nate Diaz fan, you probably already disliked this video already hearing that. But, I mean, you really just got to ask yourself, how does Jake Paul win that fight? How does he win that fight? After watching it with Anderson Silva, I know Anderson Silva's old, but Nate Diaz isn't too young either. Like, Nate Diaz is, let me check his age. Nate Diaz is 37 in himself. I mean, he's 10 years younger than Anderson Silva, but he doesn't have really the boxing experience like Anderson Silva. And after that fight, I just don't see a way Nate Diaz can win. Like, does he out-cardio Jake Paul? I don't think so. Jake Paul looked fresh. Well, not fresh, but he still looked like he had a bit of gas in that 8th round. And Anderson Silva was pressuring him too. He was putting some pressure on Jake Paul, especially towards the end of those rounds, you know, when in the clinch pressuring. I mean, if that was somebody else with less cardio, they would have gassed, and Anderson Silva probably would have got that win. But Jake Paul showed that he had the cardio. Now, Nate Diaz, we all know he's got great cardio, but how does he weaponize that in an 8-round fight against Jake Paul, who's going to have a massive power advantage, who's going to have a size advantage, who's a dangerous boxer? And the problem with Nate is Nate doesn't have the best defense. You know, if Anderson Silva, the reason that he survived so long was because of his defense. But even then, he was still taking some power shots. Now, on the side of Nate, you know, you've got the chin. You've got the chin. But is that chin going to be enough to eat those power shots of Jake Paul? Now, I'm not talking about Jake Paul like he's Deontay Wilder, you know. He's not a spectacular boxer, but he's a good boxer, a great boxer, you could even say. Like he's at a level now where he could compete with most lower down professional boxers, and even some mid range, I would say. You know, he's building the foundation to get really good. And Nate Diaz is a guy. Yeah, he clipped Leon Edwards, but that was in an MMA fight. You know, with bigger gloves. With all you're worrying about is the punches, is he going to land that same shot? Is he going to land that same shot? I don't think so. And I don't think it has the same effect. I think because Nate was doing all these different things that Leon had to worry about, that's the reason the shot landed. You know, it's a quick shot, but with Jake Paul, when all he's worrying about is Nate Diaz punching him in the head, I mean, he's gonna block those shots, and he's gonna see him coming. Nate Diaz, you know, he's slowing down a little bit, and it showed it in the Tony Ferguson fight. He still got the W, but he wasn't really landing shots like that on Tony Ferguson. He was landing nice shots, nice straights, nice jabs, but there was nothing of real power, like nothing that was really, really catastrophic, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't mean to be sounding like I'm like up Jake Paul's ass here, because I'm not. I would love Nate Diaz to beat Jake Paul. I'm not a Jake Paul hater, but I'm not a Jake Paul fan either. I mean, I'm just not interested in this fight. And I just want to ask, what is the interest in this fight? I just don't see how Nate Diaz wins. Like, he's going to be getting outpointed because he does leave himself open. He could get knocked out because Jake Paul has some real power. And when you're just worrying about the hands, when you're just boxing, you know, it's different. Nate Diaz can't create the space he does in MMA. You know, you have Jake Paul come and throwing big power shots like he was against Anderson Silva. Nate Diaz doesn't have that defense. I could quite honestly see, and I know this is going to be a hard image for a lot of people to see, but I could quite clearly see Jake Paul knocking Nate Diaz out and knocking him down multiple times. I feel like no matter where this fight goes to decision or if he gets the KO, I don't see Nate Diaz KOing Jake Paul. You know, we've seen Tyron Woodley land that big shot, and Nate Diaz could land a shot like that, but he has less chance than Tyron Woodley. Sorry, Anderson Silva's a much better boxer than Nate Diaz. in my opinion. He's got more boxing experience. He's just got better hands, better defense, better power even. The power between them actually would be pretty similar, I could imagine. But I feel like it's a down step. It's a down step. Instead of Jake Paul fighting somebody more dangerous, I feel like he just gets to fight somebody who is 37, who is retired from the UFC, and who isn't in their prime anymore. Like, Nate Diaz isn't in his prime anymore, and he's not really putting the power out there. Doesn't have the power like most people. He doesn't have the defense, And I could just see this ending bad for Nate. And Jake Paul getting another MMA name, a respectable MMA name, especially to the casuals. They go, oh, Nate Diaz bet Conor McGregor. Jake Paul beat Nate Diaz. And then that's a step closer for Jake Paul to be able to fight Conor McGregor. And it's just like, Conor McGregor has a chance to beat Jake Paul. I feel like that's definitely safe to say. But Nate Diaz, I'm not interested. I don't know if you guys are interested. Maybe there's something I'm missing, Maybe there's something I'm missing. But let me know. How does Nate win? How does he out-cardio Jake Paul in an 8-round fight? When against Anderson Silva, he was pressuring, but Jake Paul looked fine. How's he going to knock Jake Paul out? When he was eating some big shots against Anderson Silva. He was eating some big shots against Anderson Silva and surviving. And how does he outpoint Jake Paul? Yeah, he's got good output, but Jake Paul's power is going to really be the difference. And Jake Paul, he's got that nice boxing style that I just don't know if Nate's going to have. I can imagine Nate kind of walking forward, throwing out shots just straight, while Jake Paul's going to be dipping to the body, to the head like he was against Anderson. It's going to be interesting. I just don't know who Jake Paul to fight. Like, maybe somebody will just come out of nowhere that he's going to fight. A fight that I would love to see, but, Robert Whittaker can't get released from the UFC. Is Robert Whittaker versus Jake Paul would be a great fight, Robert Whittaker has been in talks to do a boxing fight for a while with some different Aussie blokes. That's a real good striker there with his hands. That would be a great fight, but I don't see Robert Whittaker getting released. That would be a great fight, though, if it could ever be made. If it could ever be made. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching, and as always, have a good one.